I'm here with Jay Baehr. Some of you guys know him. He's the pastor over here at Zion Covenant, youth pastor and worship pastor. So he's a pretty cool dude. Many of you remember him from previous relationship talks.
Just one relationship.
Just one relationship talk. And so we wanted to get an insider's opinion on dating. And I know that you guys have respect for him if you know him. If you don't, you will have respect by the end of this conversation. So what are your thoughts, Jay, on the dating world?
Well, I have lots of thoughts about dating, about marriage, about sex. And one of my most famous ones, which it's not even mine. You guys blame me for this comment about once a week, but I didn't even come up with that.
I don't know.
I did not. No, it is not mine. It came out of, I think, Great Britain, somewhere in England. That's where it came from officially.
Let's go with that.
So anyway, I have lots of thoughts about dating. I have lots of thoughts about marriage. Some are really coming directly from my heart and my brain. Some are biblically founded. But I hope, God's Spirit that works in me kind of helps me to sort of work through the things that are really just me, and then the things that are really coming from Him. So that's the Spirit kind of going into this. And what I'm going to share with you today really isn't mine either. It's just something that I've been something I really like that I've stolen from a guy that you may have heard on the radio, Chip Ingram. His relationship stuff is really, really, really good. And this is just a small portion of some of the materials that we've been using here at Zion with the students. The first thing to understand is that we all live in this culture. We all live in this North American, this Western culture, and we, whether we like it or not, are totally inundated with this idea of what relationships should be, how to make them last. We are just pounded over and over and over about these kinds of things, and unfortunately, the messages that we are receiving are not really even that helpful or good for those of us who want to take our faith seriously, want to call ourselves Christians. These are not the cues we should be taking. And in this Chip Ingram stuff, he kind of walks through this a little bit. He talks about the prescription for a lasting relationship, and the way that the Western culture, or he calls it Hollywood, really communicates to us the way it should be done. And the first thing is a total myth, and I'm glad to hear that you guys talked about this with Andy Stanley kind of says the same kind of thing, is that the first way to make a relationship last forever is just to find the right person. And the reality is that couldn't be farther from the truth.
That's not how you found Betsy. Like, Betsy just changed your world.
Well, she did. Okay. So Betsy did change my world. That's my wife. But the reality of my relationship with Betsy is that we knew each other for probably 12 years.
Did you guys date for forever?
Never.
Okay.
Never dated. So
because that's the thing that I have a hard time convincing them. Like, you're not going to meet your soulmate in high school.
The numbers are out, friends, and you're probably not going to meet your soulmate in high school.
So
you're probably going to drop them, dump them today. If they're in the room with you, just like blush and pretend you didn't hear that. But text them later tonight and dump them. I'm just kidding, Chris. Is serving name Chris dating somebody there? I'm sorry, Chris. Never mind, Chris. I mean Frank. So anyway, so my wife and I, Betsy, we met. She was 13 and I was 16. We met. There was kind of like this thing between us, but we never dated. And so we were friends for a number of years. I started dating other people. She started dating other people, and it wasn't until. And so we met in 1994. I think most of you were probably born then, right? No, you're all not even, parents probably weren't even married yet. But we met in 94, but we didn't even start dating until 2002. So that's a pretty significant chunk of time between. And we were dating other people, things like that. And so, but then finally when we got together, neither of us were dating anybody, we started dating. And it was wonderful. We had known each other. We had been friends. Hollywood tells us that first point of prescription is that you got to find the right person. The second thing that society tells us is that you need to fall in love. And I know that sounds really romantic and great and things like that, but in some ways, falling in love, and this is not, I did not come up with this, but I find it so interesting. Falling in love sounds almost violent, if you will. This idea that you are going to walk down the street, trip, and you're going to fall into love. It just sounds like damage. It sounds like pain. It just sounds like something, but that is the way it says. You got to fall. And like you have no control over it. Like there's no control, but you're going to just fall in love. And there's this little phrase I've been hearing in songs, and you guys maybe say this thing. And I've just talking to a friend of mine about this not too long ago, but there's this idea of I caught feels, right? Like I got feelings for somebody. I caught feels for somebody, and
like
that
the flu.
It's like the flu, and it's like you have no control over the fact that you caught feels for someone. And I think the problem is, yes, like even as a married person, I see an attractive woman, I could say, "Oh, I just caught feels. That must mean I gotta do something." Like, no, it means that something inside of me, God, the way God created me to be a sexual being, to be interested in the opposite gender, like that is something that is good and holy, but it does not mean that all of a sudden I'm launched into this falling in love pathway that is, it's ridiculous. But Hollywood tells us that's the way it's got to be. And you see that in broken marriages, you see that in people that get bored with each other over time because they maybe, I don't know, they fell in love and had no control over it. And it's ridiculous. So Hollywood tells us, number one, we got to find the right person. Number two, it's all about falling in love. And then number three is that when these two things, when they happen, then what needs to happen next is you need to place all your hopes, all your dreams, all your desires into this person in order for future fulfillment. And when you say it out loud, it kind of, you're like, yeah, that sounds ridiculous. But the reality is we do it all the time. And I don't mean to talk down to you guys, but like, as young people and falling in love maybe for the first time, I really do think you can fall in love and be in love and all those things at a very young age. I really think it is possible. But the problem is your brains aren't fully developed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, there's something going on in you that maybe isn't ready yet. You may be ready to date. That's great. Dating, I'm a big advocate of dating everybody. Like maybe, I don't know if I said this before.
Dating everybody.
I know. Okay. So, and what I mean by that is date, and this is maybe later on, but date everybody in the sense of date guys, date girls. And when I say date, I am not talking about physical, like intimacy with people. Dating is meant to be a time, in my opinion, is meant to be a time when you engage with people. Like Justin and I are kind of on a date right now. We're on this like live date. Well, it won't be live when you see it, but we're on a date. We're dating each other right now. We're interacting with each other. We're spending time with each other.
You are a handsome man.
And there are things about Justin Joyner that if I was not married and things like that, there'd be like, there's attributes of Justin Joyner that I'd be like, you know what? I would really love to have a wife that it's kind of like Justin Joyner.
Well, we talked about that though, because we talked about like defining the relationship. We
Yeah.
talked about how you have to know what you're looking for when you walk into a relationship.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to end up dating like you too quickly draw to the physical, right? Like if a girl's attractive, like I want to make out with her.
Yeah.
But that's just naturally the biological way we've been made. So how do we define that before getting into something more serious? And I think that's what you're talking about when you say dating everybody.
But we lead with that physical stuff way too soon. And culture tells us to lead with it. Like society tells us, you know what, if you're not sleeping together by like your fifth date or first month, anniversary, you're not sleeping together. Like it's almost ridiculous. Or if you haven't slept with someone by the time you're out of high school, it is almost unheard of. And so and society is giving us a very, very different story. And they want us to lead with that physical. Really takes no work at all, friends. Physical stuff doesn't take any work. So this idea of the third thing is placing your hopes and your dreams in a person for future fulfillment is Justin's going to fail you as a youth pastor. Your parents are going to fail you as your parents. Your relationships. My wife fails me often. I fail her often. My kids, they fail me. And to put all my hope and all my dreams in a person that's gonna fall and fail and screw up, it just doesn't make any sense. But unfortunately, we have this tendency to do that. I know I did that. So that's what society tells us. And then society tells us if things fall apart, if everything fails, then just start over. Find the right person, fall in love, put all your hopes and dreams, and it's just like this wicked cycle. And the reality is, we look at our society, we know that this formula is not working, it's not working.
Right. Well, let's be honest. If you guys have been in a dating relationship and it has ended, it didn't make you not interested in dating again. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay, some of you middle school boys, you're probably like, yeah, I don't care about this at all. That's fine. Later you will. But for the rest of you, you end one relationship and then you're lucky to make it 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month, and then like, hey, I want to date again. And that's kind of the problem because that's what culture says. Well, just go for it again.
Go for it again. Start over. Start over. Find the right person, fall in love. Base everything on that.